radical pedagogue, and the director of the infamous performance troupe La Pocha Nostra, labeled by critics as the most influential Latino performance troupe of the last decade. Born in Mexico City, he came to the U.S. in 1978. His performance work and 8 books have contributed to the debates on cultural diversity, border culture, and U.S. Mexico relations. His artwork has been presented at over 900 venues across the U.S., Canada, Latin America, Europe, Russia, South Africa, and Australia. A MacArthur Fellow and American Book Award winner, he is a regular contributor to NPR, a writer for newspapers and magazines in the U.S., Mexico, and Europe, and contributing editor to the Performance Pedagogy Exercises for Rebel Artists. I'm sorry. I have a microphone in front of me. Contributor editor to the Drama Review at NYU and MIT. His 2 upcoming books are Radical Performance Pedagogy Exercises for Rebel Artists and Border Crossers by Rutgers, which is coming up this year, and Conversations Across Borders by Siegel Press, coming out in August. So, also I want to just 3 announcements. First, no flash photography. 2, no intermission. The work is about a little bit over an hour and 10 minutes. And please turn off your cell phones. So you join me now, all together now. No texting about how great the event is. And please join me in welcoming Guillermo Gómez-Peña and Strange Democracy.
There is no place like no home. Art, art, arte, art, arte, art, 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 life, art, life, art, life, art, life, art, life, life. life, vida, 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 live art, dead art, live art, dead art, live art, live art, live art, dead art, male, dead art, male, dead art, male, 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 female, male, female, male, norte, male, norte, 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 sur, 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 south, sur, south, south, north, 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 U.S., U.S., U.S. Mexico, Mexico, perdón, U.S. Mexico, 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 body, 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 brain, brain, body, brain, brain, body, brain, brain, private, private, private brain, brain, private, 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 public, public, vida, public, vida, public, vida, 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 video, video. I am currently being videoed. I am currently being videoed for academia's sake. Video, video, shit. No matter how you rearrange them, these binary models are completely useless. Performance persona 310, vernacular philosopher Tejano Hopi drag. One post-neo Chicano artist, he, she, multiple voices, talking as art, as choreography, as mapping, spoken word DJ, theory, border art, shamanic humor, half-scripted madness, New Brunswick or Brunswick? Rutgers, 2011. Is it possible to still use a proscenium in an original way? Ladies and gentlemen, there is a major poetic malfunction in the world, and my beloved mother is ill. Dear audience, querido público, I will alternate back and forth from reinterpretations of some of my classic performance texts to brand new material. So in a sense, you may consider tonight's performance a living archive. So, dear foreign audience, welcome to my conceptual set. Welcome to my performance universe. Welcome to my delirious psyche. Welcome to my border zone, to the cities and jungles of my language, las del inglés y las del español. So kick back, light up your conceptual cigarette. Bro. In the name of live art, people have crucified themselves as a form of protest, created fake corporations to destabilize the economy, and printed useless money and conceptual passports to reinvent their own countries. In the name of art, people invent mysterious languages, religions, and architecture that are more congruent with our needs and aspirations. Artists have envisioned a parallel universe in which our contemporaries can engage in meaningful forms of freedom and creativity. In this sense, true democracy can only exist in the imagination of art and literature. Imagination, That's my nation. That's where I wish to live and die. But how do I explain to regular people what the hell is performance art? Performance memory 267 stored in my liver. I have been hospitalized in Mexico City for 2 weeks. I won't discuss my illness tonight, for I have already done so in another script. I'm trying to explain what I do to a nurse, I'm trying to explain to a nurse what I do. But I'm not getting anywhere. She asks me for the 10th time, "Perdón, what did you say you were? A performer in king?" A contradiction in terms, I say. A wrestler without a ring, a rocker without a band, a cyber pirate without access, a theorist without methodology, a dervish without a mountain top, a poet who writes his/her metaphors on his/her body, siete locos, 7 locked inside an empty room. This one. It's my mind, not theirs, not yours. Remember, I'm trying to explain to a nurse what I do. She looks at me with a combination of tenderness and fear and says, "No entiendo nada del arte moderno. Pero señor Guillermo, la verdad, los artistas me caen a toda madre." I make a final attempt to explain to her the substance of my work. I am an artist who sells ideas, not objects, not images, not skills, a performance artist, which means that I write letters with my own blood. I wrestle with historical ghosts and post-colonial demons. I research the possibilities of silence and darkness. She looks at me in complete disbelief. As I continue to anthologize my work in an attempt to recapture my sense of self, I set my hair on fire just to make a point. I cross the border without documents just to make a point. And when I am pissed, y cuando me encabrono, I tend to speak in tongues. Como era algo, y yo, como era que yo voy a hablar. Performance is a weird religion, I told you. Per ipsume cum ipsum et in ipsum, et tibi video patrioni impotenti. Per omnia secula seculeros, I te guacho. The nurse changes the page of the script for me. She finally gets it. Ah, she says, es como vivir en un mundo paralelo. Es algo hermoso pero inútil. You know, I agree with the creators of satire. We have already lost the main battle. Politicians have hijacked our imagination and replaced it with fear. And that may be worse than losing our civic rights. Memory. To know if it still carries currency. So, in 1982, I spent 6 months touring Europe with Poetic, Genetica, my performance troupe at the time. On August the 1st, day of Swiss independence, we were visiting the Alps. More than 10,000 people gathered that night in the village of Adelboden, around magnificent fireworks and yodeling, while Israeli F-16 and F-15 jets were bombing West Beirut inside my consciousness. And this is what I wrote that night. Please bear with me. I was 27, called myself Mr. Misterio, and my writing was quite pretentious. Quote, Her fireworks were scratching the sky in other golden. It was like the beginning and end of all times. It had the impact of an Israeli air raid, the innocence of Vegas, the grandeur of Wagner and Dorf. I mean, such epic exhibitionism of dollars, colors, and Old Testament imagery intertwined with 100 yucky revelations all at once, yodeling, fireworks, happy bombs, fading in and out of my poem. Oh, as you can tell, I was a bit exalted. Quote, and there were travelers of 1,000 nationalities asking each other, where are you from? While the locals were humping each other like street dogs. And the cows were perfect and bored. And the sky was furious, man-made heaven. And the moon was frozen, unexpressive, an imponderable question tattooed in everyone's retina. Shit, that's pretentious writing. I began to wander into other poetic scenarios, writing in my notebook a la Neruda. Stuff like, quote, as the fireworks faded in and out of my poem, my fellow artists were starving in 1,000 cities. The wolves were crying in Siberia. The jibaros were roasting iguanas in Amazonia. The cops were beating up homos in East LA. The skinheads were slaughtering Rastafarians in London. The Japanese sailors were harpooning sperm whales in the Sea of Cortez. Blah, 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 blah. At least 3 more pages of rambunctious poetic correspondences. Blah, 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 unquote. Blah, blah, quote. Blah, 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 unquote. Blah, 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 quote. I'm busy. And somewhere in Mexico, my lover was all depressed, because I was somewhere in the Alps, I guess. While Israel was bombing West Beirut, and the fireworks were scratching the Swiss sky like happy bombs, like harmless bombs, fading in and out of yodeling. Here I get really cold, as I begin to project myself onto the Swiss landscape. And I myself started crying like the fireworks themselves, as if the fireworks were a conscious force, sparking tears toward the 4 cardinal points. And I thought to myself, Gómez-Peña, you are an asshole. And the woman next to me asked if I was Italian. And I replied, no, I am an asshole. Don't you see the sky? And she agreed. She somehow shared my poetic logic. And all this was going through my body and mind when suddenly, quote, a solo firework stabbed the moon in the center, and we all thought she was going to die because she was bleeding all over. Instead, she buried herself slowly back into the Alps like a polar bear in hibernation. Or at least that's what I thought. Quote, I could have perfectly killed myself, but yodeling brought me back to consciousness, and my friends were ready for a midnight walk to the next village or poem, unquote. Now, why am I reading this text 28 years later? What am I implying here? Is it mere nostalgia for bad writing? Am I engaging in historical fatalism by implying that Israel continues to make the same mistakes? Perdón. 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 It is immigration hysteria. Immigration is a byproduct of globalization, and as such it is irreversible. 1/3 of mankind now lives outside our homeland and away from our original culture and language. His face was black. I continued. The existing nation states are dysfunctional and outdated, and the legal structures that contain them do not respond to the new complexities of the times. His response to my answer was, I don't understand what you're saying. The fact is that the aliens are here illegally, and you know how many little aliens are here in the U.S. I held my tongue and continued in the same Chicano cool monotone I use when I'm getting pissed. Well, it all depends who you ask. An Anglo-sociologist will tell you 11 million. A Chicano activist will answer none. But if you ask a Native American elder, he might say 350. And technically, man, he's right. He didn't understand my argument. He repeated his statement in much louder volume. Fact is that the aliens are here illegally. Legally? To me, immigration is not a legal issue, but a humanistic and ethical one. No human being is illegal, period. All human beings, with or without documents, belong to humankind, our kind. And if they require our help, we are obliged to provide it. It's called being human. A concept you may find quite alien and foreign in itself. In this context, nationality becomes secondary, their pain is ours, and so is their fate. Well, what do you mean by that? He asked contentiously. Well, just as I became an immigrant one day, you yourself might become one in the future. We're all potential immigrants, carnal. He looked at me with disgust. After a long pause, he said, don't give me this carnal shit. You people are determined to destroy our democracy just because we give you the freedom to do it. What have we done to you? At that point, I realized there was not much space for intellectual negotiation. His arguments were strictly emotional. He was fighting for his life, his inner country, his sense of belonging to an imaginary world, a pre-contact white America that never was. He was a real alien, lost in a multiracial foreign planet where border culture and hybridity are the norm, and Spanish, let's face it, is lingua franca. I felt compassion for him. I tried once more to engage him in a serious dialogue. You know, senor, in response to your question of what have we done to you, immigration to the U.S. is the direct result of the economic and political behavior of the U.S. toward other countries. We are here precisely because we were there. Most immigrants, including myself, are unconsciously searching for the source of our despair. And I think I found it just now, located in your historical amnesia. It's a pleasure to meet you. I stood up, offered him my right hand. He rejected it. He was visibly afraid of my accent, my brown skin, my eyeliner. My left stiletto. His eyes. I was a cryptomammal, a gigantic rabbit chihuahua morphing in and out of Godzilla with a mariachi hat. He left the radio studio even more convinced that we were the source of all the social and economic ills of his USA, a country I have never been to. Shit. Is there a way out of this historical stalemate? Dear native pundits, politicos, and hordes of militant monolingual Americans, I write to you in hopes of making you aware of some fundamental contradictions in your cultural behavior and political ideas, and to help you be more consistent with your claims. I write to you in English, so there won't be any misunderstandings. And as I write, I will exercise both the first Chicano commandment, talk back, and my most elemental logic. Por lo tanto, if you're congruent with your militant belief in monolingualism and with your obsession to criminalize the Spanish language, then you should begin to find new names for the following U.S. cities. San Diego, Los Ángeles, Santa Bárbara, San Bernardino, Santa Cruz, San José, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, Sacramento, Las Vegas, San Antonio, Amarillo, El Paso, Alamosa, Pueblo, Orlando, Calexico, and several thousand others. And what about states like California? Should we name it California con K in honor of its ex-Austrian emperor? And Colorado red? I was born in red. Nevada snowed or ice cream. Texas tiles. Montana mountain sinene. Florida full of flowers of flourish. For New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona, do you have any suggestions? Should we ask the Native Americans, the only true Americans? America, by the way, is a misspelled Italian name. You will soon have to punish companies using illegal names like Goya, Del Monte, Taco Bell, and Frito-Lay. Not to mention all the automobile manufacturers who nickname their cars Monte Carlo, El Camino, El Dorado, Bronco. By the way, sports teams like the Broncos, the Astros, and the Padres must be rebaptized ipso facto. Right? So facto is a Latin term. Dangerous concerts and recordings by Christina Aguilera, Ricky Martin, J-Lo, Shakira, Il Divo, the elders from the Buena Vista Social Club must be forbidden. You may also need to subject yourself and your family to hypnosis in order to unlearn words like avocado, tomate, tamal, tortilla, taco, tostada, chile, sangria. No worries, you can rename your taco salad Wetbacks Delight. To remind you of the good old days when political correctness can ruin all your fun, don't forget Adobe and Adobe Photoshop. Incognito, which spells incognito, pendejo. Incomunicado, jamón, barbecue, and hasta la vista. Do name a few. No more piñatas for your children. And as for tequila, starting next month, your fraternities and bars can no longer serve margaritas. Please, only American beer, bourbon, and if you want to be congruent to your roots, moonshine. Se me olvidaba, You will need to hire a translator for your gardener, maid, construction workers, and your parents' caretaker. Otherwise, they will rob you blind. But most important, you should get yourself an IQ test in English only. Don't forget. One of the most hopeful political trends that have emerged out of the Obama era, you all know this. I'm just kind of like being repetitive. It is a profound dialogue and unprecedented unity between African Americans and Latinos. Its ultimate expression was the recent merge of Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell. They now share a board of directors and a physical location, which means you can have your extra crispy chicken on top of your taco salad on the same tray. In a recent Taco Novela ad, an exalted Colonel Sanders wearing a mariachi hat has two babes seated on his lap. A gorgeous black video vixen on his left leg, and an over-bosomed Latino drag queen on his right leg. An audition for that role. And he's screaming, "Viva Gordita!" with a fake Southern accent, a perfect metaphor for contemporary race relations in the U.S. So we now can say that we've got hundreds, thousands of Afro-Mexican community centers spread throughout the planet. Even in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo. It's like, si se pudo. Yes, we could. Please repeat after me. Si se pudo. Si se pudo. Yes, we could. Yes, we could. ¿Qué te pasó